just do this quick little demonstration for, I guess, anybody who gives a shit. There's a meeting, one Pueblo, okay, I'm at the library. Now, this is something I was talking about earlier before, okay? And what I was talking about was essentially you got the 10th judicial branch, right? So you got the 10th judicial branch, and that's the judicial system that we have in Pueblo. So you got the 10th judicial district, and then you have the municipal judge. So you got 10, well actually let's count them up, okay? So I got this thing up here, which is pretty cool. You have Deborah Ehler, the district court chief judge, and then you have William Alexander, Allison P. Ernst, Thomas Flesher, Kim Karn, Jill S. Mattoon, and Larry Schwartz, right? So those are your main judges, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 10th judicial judges. Now you got 3 county judges on top of that. So you got 7 judges, right? 7 10th judicial branch judges. You got a municipal judge, and you got 3 county judges. So that's 11 judges total. So Steve Fieldman, Valerie Haynes, and David Lobato. So those are your 3 Pueblo County judges. We'll continue with the 10th judicial branch because you got these magistrates too. What power does a magistrate have? Are they like judges, like little mini judges? So Kelly Thomas, Gregory Studahar, and Dorothy Radakovic. So there's 14 people, right? 3 more people that's in the judicial branch. There's only 3 branches of government. You have the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. And unfortunately, my theory is, now I don't know any of these people, but I do know America, that there's an unholy alliance between the police and the judicial system. The police are supposed to work for the executive branch, and the government is all 3 branches, legislative, judicial, and executive. So even if you want to say, well, it's not just the executive branch, well, it's all 3 branches. But so far, for what I see is that there's an unholy alliance between the police and between the judges. So the police are fascists, you know, can go around beating people up, arresting them, throwing them in jail. And then the judicial system rubber stamps all of their crimes, no matter what they do. Well, that's their buddy, and there's sort of a tit for tat kind of thing. So you get these skinny little judges who probably couldn't harm a fly, so they need these big, strong fascists to protect them. So why not go ahead and rubber stamp all of their decisions, so when there is somebody that's robbing your house, you could call one of these fascists and they'll kick somebody's teeth in for you. So that's 14. Then you have a district administrator. So Laura Snyder, district administrator, so she's got power. Chief probation officer, this is a big dude, David Cemental. The clerks of the court, which is an elected position, Janet Thielmeyer. Jury commissioners, which all those are not all of them, well, all the judges are, but some of these positions, the jury commissioners, the chief probation officer, district administrator. I don't know how the magistrates are decided. So these are people who are being picked. This is patronage. So some people are getting elected, right? The sheriff gets elected, and then he hires a bunch of deputies. So if you elect the right sheriff, he'll get you a job. So patronage, right? So a lot of these folks are not elected. They're not publicly held to accountable. Leela Mears, jury commissioner. I would love to actually serve on the jury. This is one of the important times you could actually make a stand. If you don't convict somebody, right? The jury has all the power. And then the family court facilitator. So Erica Kindred, she's got power. Leela, Janet, all these folks got power. And so I think it's just important to understand, the political system that you're in. To have a power map, to have a kind of power map so you understand who is who runs what. So the executives, you have in Pueblo a certain number of executives. You got 3 county commissioners. They are both executive and legislator of the county. So county commissioners, that's important to know. Then for the city, you have Sam Azad, the city manager, and then you have the city council. City council is legislative. Sam Azad is the executive. And then there's the chief of police, Troy Davenport. So he's the new chief of police, the Louis Velez, whatever his name is, Mr. Velez, had stepped down for whatever reason, and now you got Troy Davenport, which was, apparently he ran things anyways, or something. I don't know. But my theory, okay, just understanding the nature of America, is that your executive branch, they don't understand that they do have police power, so Sam Azad can arrest Troy Davenport. But if Sam Azad doesn't know he can arrest Troy Davenport, then Troy Davenport can do as the hell as he pleases. The only strings that Troy Davenport have is the budget and his own understanding of the system. So if he obedience himself to city council, well, that's a good city police officer. But he doesn't have to do that. He could just totally flaunt them and just, tell them, just be like mushrooms in a closet, right? You feed them, you keep them in the dark and you feed them a bunch of shit. So he might not even tell them really what's going on. He gets to keep his fascist authority. And I don't know the guy. He seems like an okay guy. Just, I guess, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So this isn't even on Troy Davenport because there's some controls. He's not elected. He's not a sheriff. The sheriff actually is more accountable to the people than the chief of police. Everybody is all about this big, strong mayor, but nobody wants the chief of police to be elected. So you have an unholy alliance between the police officers and the judicial branch. So you have 200 city cops, 220 cops, and then you have, 200, 300 sheriff's cops also. And there's in the Colorado Constitution, they have a thing called victims' rights. So if something happens to you, you have the right to use the criminal justice system. If you put in a complaint, they have to listen to you just as if you're a police officer. If a police officer, types in his computer that somebody committed a crime, well, they'll go through the entire slaughterhouse of the judicial system. A cop can totally make it up, beat the crap out of you and say, well, he went for my gun, so I had to, beat him up and kidnap him. And then now it's his word versus yours. They do have body cameras, so that's a good legacy for Velez. Velez also oversaw the legalization of marijuana here. So I don't know. I have more respect for people who step down. They don't have the power, but I'm not really a person who, I respect citizens. I mean, if you're a person in power, you have so many different, I don't know. So anyways, so you have an unholy alliance. So just not Troy Davenport, but let's just take your regular, typical, average Joe police officer. I don't know them from Adam, but let's just say there's a Joe police officer. So Joe police officer goes there and, let's say he's a good person, right? He's a good person. He saw a crime. He nabs a person, puts him in jail. Well, that's when the criminal justice system works, right? He saw some wrongdoing. He found the perpetrator, and then he was able to do that. But to assume that anybody and everybody, to assume that cops could do no wrong, to err is human. And to put on a badge and a gun and state authority, you're going to tell me to err is human, but as soon as you get some power, then you don't make any mistakes. And if you can even admit that, people make mistakes, could you even go to the next extent and say that people could be corrupt and they could use their power for bad, for ill? Could they steal people's drugs and then give it to their one drug dealer? Could they rape? Could they murder? Could they use violence against people that don't deserve it? That's very possible. And so a criminal justice system, a democracy, has a rule of law. Rule of law being nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law. So nobody can murder anybody in cold blood. A toddler can't go around and just shoot somebody. You can't have a police officer. You can't have a governor or president. You can't have nobody. You cannot kill somebody in cold blood. That is a across the board just wrong. Okay? And that's what the rule of law is. Nobody is above the rule of law. But unfortunately, I think that there are people who are above the law. There's the judges, there's the cops, there's the lawyers. And if you're a poor person, and definitely if you don't have a lawyer, you're going to get fucked over by the judicial system. This judicial system is not your friend. And there's, like I said, if you're a criminal, then you deserve it. But if you're just poor and powerless and you just, can't stand up for yourself, so some bully cop just wants to pick on you, it's very possible that they could go ahead and do that. Also, the war on drugs is bullshit. It's not solving anything. So the fact that they're still focused on the war on drugs, it's a lot of waste of resources. So there's an unholy alliance. You have Joe police officer. He'll beat somebody up, and then he'll go before the judge, and the judge will say, you're guilty, and then he throws him in jail. And then later on, when that judge needs to use the police, there are some judges that could be even-handed, but who checks this stuff? Who is actually checking this stuff? All the judges are elected, but in Colorado, they are just retention elections. So it's an internal thing. They pick the person. The person, once they're in there, they're appointed by the governor. But once they get in there, they have a probation period of 2 years, and then they're have a retention election. So the retention election isn't really an election at all. It just says, do you want to keep, do you want to keep, you're going to have this person actually is going to, not that one, Deborah Ehler. Okay, so Deborah Ehler right here, right, she is the chief judge. She is going to be up for re-election this year. So she's up for re-election, and the retention election isn't, she's not going to run against anybody. She's just going to run by herself. And so the option that has been given to Colorado voters for decades is, do you want to keep Deborah Ehler? It's not Deborah Ehler versus somebody else. It's like, is she doing a good job? Do you want to keep her? And what's crazy is, unless you know the person and that they've done a great job, I mean, has she done a great job? Do you know any of her major decisions that she's done? Or are you just friends with her and you want to kiss her butt and hopefully, you know, if you vote for her, she'll go ahead and give a crap about you? The retention election is, do you want to keep her? 75% of Coloradans generally across the board, so some's 60, some's 80, you know, some's a little bit more, some's less. But essentially 75% of Coloradan voters, which is what, 25% of the population, but out of the ones who do vote, they are retaining these judges without any competition. Do you want to retain Deborah Ehler? Do you know anything about Deborah Ehler? Why are you voting in overwhelming numbers to retain these judges? Oh, she has power, so let's just keep her in power. She's making $100,000 per year, so let's hope, you know, keep on giving her more power and giving her more money, and then hopefully everything will do great. There's a whole bunch of judges here. There's a whole bunch of judges, and the reason why I say it's an unholy alliance is because they're supposed to work for the executive branch, but if they don't know it, then my theory is they think they work for the judicial branch, and they arrest somebody. The judge says, you know, it's okay. They throw them in jail, so therefore they went ahead and said what they did was okay. They rubber stamped it. They said, A-okay. What you did is A-okay. And therefore, you know, who's going to tell them no? They beat somebody up for heroin, and then the judge goes ahead and stamps it and says, that's fine. Beat them up, throw them in jail, you know, treat them like crap. Then he's going to continue to do that. So they're making policy, and they're the day-to-day policy. So whereas the executive and the legislative branch has the power of the purse, they got power of money. They can, you know, pull the purse strings. They could bankrupt somebody, not but giving them any money. They don't have fascist power. So that means all the police officers can arrest Deborah Ehler. Deborah Ehler can arrest nobody. She don't have police powers. So if you see Deborah Ehler driving drunk, then that means a police officer can arrest her, but she cannot arrest a police officer. I believe the executive branch has police power, because how else can you execute the laws without police power? You got to rely on somebody else. You got to stand over someone else's shoulders and tell them to do it. Well, what if that person don't want to do it? Then you got to do it yourself, or you got to make them, right? So that would require some police powers. Now, that's important to know, because who polices the police? We have a problem, an epidemic across the country of police brutality. They get away with murder. They get away with all their crimes. They get away with every bit of their crimes. And it seems like, again, the American public, just like in Arizona, with that guy, he killed him in the hallway. The cop shot him in the hallway while he's crying and begging for his life. He wasn't a danger to anybody. And yet, we're going to sit there and say that, well, that cop did good. He murdered somebody in cold blood. It was an execution. And what happened? The prosecution tried to convict him, but the jury, the people of Arizona, said, nah, that's totally fine. That's acceptable. That's okay. So this is the chief judge. Chief judge is Deborah Ehler, right? And Deborah Ehler is, she is up for re-election this year. So we're going to have a retention election for her. So are you going to retain her? She's not going to compete against anybody. She's not going to run against anybody. What I know personally is that she doesn't give a damn about the Constitution. She doesn't care about Pueblo, the charter here. You have a charter convention to change the government. They're trying to change the government without a charter convention, so they're already breaking the law. But she doesn't care about the Constitution. What she does care about is civil procedure and protecting her rich, powerful buddies. So if you were to, again, if as a victim, you file a complaint in the court proceedings, you have a right to have your day in court. Deborah Ehler does not believe that you have a right in your day of court. Deborah Ehler actually very much doesn't believe. She thinks that civil procedure is more important than Constitution, and my civil procedure was correct. Theirs wasn't, but she could forgive their small technicalities and then make up some stuff for me. So what it says in the Constitution is that you cannot change the government of Pueblo unless you have a charter convention. We haven't had a charter convention, so I filed a lawsuit in front of Deborah, and Deborah was like, who gives a shit about the Constitution? It doesn't matter. They're breaking the law, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And so that's a bad person. She didn't hear me out. She didn't get my day in court. I got nothing out of this thing. So I have a mostly negative perspective of her, but she's the chief. So if she's the one setting, the culture around here, then I looked up David Cimental. I couldn't even find the guy's name. So this chief probation officer, I don't even know what he looks like. Here's Louis Velez. I don't know if it's one of these guys or not. But that's another thing. So we have a chief probation officer. We don't even know his name, his background. Who is he? Where did, and then who are the police officers? Like, they are public servants. They are being paid by tax dollars. So we need to know who these people are. This lady here, I want to mention this because it's not all, again, I don't know any of these folks from Adam. They could be very even-handed, very great judges. Jill S. Mattoon, I have good feelings with Jill S. Mattoon. Mattoon, what she did was she had recused herself because she said she knew the people in the case and she didn't feel like she would be a fair judge. So then it went into circulation, they said, and then it goes right to the chief judge. Yeah, right. I think the chief judge took it and was like, I'll squash this little bug. He's just a citizen. To hell with the citizens. I only care about the lawyers and the rich people. That's what Deborah Ehler says. Now, Jill S. Mattoon, she says she knows the people, so she's like at Jeff Sessions, and she's like, I'm not saying that they're guilty or not guilty. I'm just saying that I'm too close to this to really judge it fairly. So that's an honest person. Jill S. Mattoon is an honest person. There's 3 people that's up for election. I don't know if she is. It says that she was appointed in 2000 as administrative law judge with the Colorado Office of Administrative Courts and presided over working compensation. She was appointed to the district court by Governor Owens in 2006. So she's been in power for 12 years, right? So she's making what, $100-something thousand times 12? She's made over $1 million of taxpayer money so far. And again, like I said, she very much could be a good person. Are we getting $1 million worth of, justice? And she is also one of how many, right? One of seven 10th judicial judges. And then there's the chief judges, and then you have the county court judges. So that's, just in terms of judges, that's 11 judges, right? 7 plus 3 plus the municipal judge. So there's 11 judges, and there's 3 magistrates here in Pueblo County City. So 3 magistrates and 11 judges. So that's the judicial branch. And it seems to me very much, if you want to know, if you want to get justice, if you're accused of a crime, you need to know who these people are. You need to know who you're dealing with and whether or not they're fair people. There's a saying that says if you want to get a good lawyer, then, you get one of the most qualified, a guy who really knows their stuff. But if you want to get a great lawyer, you get a lawyer who knows the judge. If they know the judge, then they can be like, hey, yeah, look, Deborah, I know dude, and he's a good man. He just wants to give his, he wants to defend his side. He thinks that there's been a crime that has been committed, and that's going to affect me. You're telling me that having a brand new system of government in Pueblo isn't going to affect the citizens? You're damn right it is. It's going to affect all the citizens. So, yeah, there's an unholy alliance between the 10th Judicial Branch and and not just the 10th, there's the 3 magistrates, you got the municipal court, and then you got the county judges. And that's, God, you should be asking yourself a lot of questions right there. The municipal judge, she can't even use the jail. So the county jail people, they're assholes to the municipal judge. So if she can't put him in jail, right, that makes her job. She might actually be the most honest one. Or I've also heard there's bad things from municipal judges. But there's only one of her. So I think I would actually trust the one over the multitude, right? You get 10 people, that's groupthink, and they're like, oh, no, we're all allowed to go ahead and ignore the damn citizens. No, in the Bill of Rights of Colorado's Constitution, you must protect the victim. And I think that's incredible. It's not just protect the criminally accused, but there's victims' rights. If you're a victim, then you get to use the court system. The court system must listen to you. And if you're not, a habitual liar, if they don't know you from Adam and you go in there and you sign an affidavit, they have to listen. I mean, how can they tell you that what you're saying isn't true unless, they do lie detector tests? But, so 3 magistrates, 10 judges, 3 county judges, 1 municipal judge, and then 7 10th Judicial District judge. Who's got the power? Who gets the murder cases? Who gets the misdemeanor cases? And then is it, the county judges? I guess they get all the county crimes. And then what's the 10th Judicial Branch? Or they just get the city crimes? They're the county too. So, and then the municipal judge, and then the magistrates. Who the hell are these magistrates? And what power do these magistrates have? Are they judges? Are they lawyers? And that's another thing. All these lawyers, we're going to trust a bunch of lawyers. Are any of these bakers, or any of these farmers, or any of these janitors, or any of these, teachers or bus drivers? Do we have any regular people who are sitting up on high? Yeah, when you get $100,000, I'm sure it's easy to pay all your bills. But if you're poor, right, then, perhaps you're not able to, I don't know, take care of all your debts. Whereas they could, and they would look at you by saying, well, you need to pay your bills. Well, we pay your bills. So it's easy to say that, right? Tell everybody else to pay their bills when you sit up on high with power, with money, and you say, guilty, 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 not guilty. There's some judges I know that automatically you're guilty as soon as you walk in. A cop accused you, a cop beat you up, a cop threw you in jail. You're guilty. You're not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until you're proven innocent. And how can you even prove your innocence? That's like the most impossible thing. Prove that you weren't there at the crime scene and that you didn't shoot the guy. Well, I was, at home with my wife. Oh, she's biased. Okay. Well, I guess I can't prove it. I guess I don't have videotape of a time-stamped video during that moment in time. But where were you? How do I know you weren't doing it? So just an accusation does not make a criminal. You have to have an accusation, and you're confronted by your accusers. You got to have evidence. And I would like to actually have a judicial system that we could use, that we all go in, they listen to us, and we can actually use our own court system. There's these squatter laws, which I think is incredible. They want to say it's a civil thing. No, it's not a civil thing. That's a public thing. If you have, squatters, yeah, protect their property rights, their furniture rights, but go in there and take their furniture out and put it on the curb. You got a week until they pick it up. So that doesn't make any sense. But that's the thing, is the cops don't actually work for the people. And if there's tenants, or if you have people living in your house and you want them out, they should be gotten out. Now, that being said, there's also London bankers that have a bunch of blighted, abandoned homes around here. So if there is no accuser, there's people living in some abandoned building and nobody else knows what's going on. I don't know. I think that's good, because you're taking care of a crap building that nobody's, that people are ignoring, and that building is taking care of a person, and we got homelessness. So what else is there? I said Jill Esmontoon's good. I think Deborah Ehler is a bad person. She doesn't give people, she don't listen to people. She don't give them the time of day. She don't give them the benefit of the doubt. She don't get their day in court. So she doesn't care about the victims. She doesn't seem to understand the Constitution. The city of Pueblo has a charter, and it says if you want to change the government, you got to have a charter convention. They didn't have a charter convention, but since the people in power, they hobnob with each other, they're going to go ahead and defend each other. Who gives a damn, right? Who cares if the Constitution was passed? Well, all laws come from the Constitution. If Deborah Ehler does not know that all laws come from the Constitution, well, then that's a problem. And that's God. We have the three branches. We got the rule of law. You don't even know the Constitution. What the hell? What the hell? And yet, if I was a cop and I just beat somebody up, she would go ahead and convict them. But because I'm not a cop and I got to write long pages of civil summons and all this other shit, then she'd be like, "Oh, you didn't dot your I." I did dot the I. Nope, I didn't see it. Okay, well, now what am I supposed to do? Just be like, oh, and if it's close enough, then, I have to appeal. I got to drive all the way to Denver, and then I got to go to the Supreme Court. Should I just go to the federal government? What am I supposed to do now, right? She throws it out on a technicality. We all have no justice. They don't give a shit. They're breaking the law. There's been no charter convention, and we're all just supposed to be like, c'est la vie. So let's see, what else is there? There's William Alexander. So this is another judge here. I don't know anything about him, but this is what he looks like. So I've talked with judges, a lot of them good friends about. So all the judges are best friends. Here's another picture of him. Dennis Mays, the whole Dennis Mays building. He's actually a school board member now. You have Judge William Alexander here, so I guess Dennis Mays is telling William Alexander. So this is just one of the guys, right? So one of, how many do we count? 14? Is that what I said before? You had 10 judicial branch judges, plus the municipal judge, plus the 3 magistrates, which I think have judicial powers. So we got 14 judges. We got 14 judges total. And I think it's important to understand the system that you're in, if these folks are actually listening. There was one judge that I had encountered that really listened to one side and listened to the other side. And since they listened to both sides, they determined, well, do I believe this person? Do I believe this person? What evidence have you presented? Witness testimony is one form of evidence. So one person's word over another person, I don't think so. If you don't know dude, then their word is just as good, unless they're a pathological liar, unless you just know they're like Donald Trump, right? Just lies all the time. Then maybe you could just throw it out after they've had 3 false reports. Don't accept them no more. But if you don't know them, I don't even see how you could say, oh, I don't care about what you're going through. No, I'm a citizen of this country, and if I'm a victim of crime, I need somebody to give a damn. I need someone to give a damn. All these judges, they got friends. They got all the friends in the world. They got all the friends and power in the world. If somebody hurts them, they got all their, fastest boot thugs that'll go ahead and take care of them and protect them. So they'll definitely protect the politicians. They'll protect cops will. Cops will protect politicians. They'll protect businesses usually. If you have evidence of it, they're kind of compelled to, go after the perpetrator. They'll go after violent criminals in action. But most of the time, I feel like they protect their own. They protect their own police. They protect their own politicians. They protect their own friends and family. But the general public, those are the enemy. Very much, it's like, it's like Iraq or Syria or something. So they look around like damn heathens, and it's like they just hate us, and they can't wait to get us all in line. Something that's actually good for the police. This comes from Robert White, who was the chief police of Louisville for a while. I think he's in Denver now, actually. So Robert White, he knows that 200 police cannot police 100,000 people. And so what he did was just make sure there's a presence of them. I don't even really see much of a presence. We just got like 10 to 20 more police officers. And if they're all just caring about like what the rich and the wealthy want and the crimes that the rich and wealthy see, and then that's another thing. Wouldn't the public absolutely love it if they were arresting bankers and corrupt politicians? I would think it would be amazing. If you caught Deborah Ehler driving drunk, are you going to let her go? Or are you going to, throw her in jail? She broke the law. The rule of law says she's got to go to jail just like everybody else. And then, you go through the court system, just the slaughterhouse of a court system. So she's already guilty, right? She got beat up. She's thrown in jail. So she's already guilty. She's already guilty. And that should be the exact same system. If we believe in the rule of law, that should be the same system that she would go through. But someone's telling me if she's convicted of a DUI or corruption or malicious prosecution, there's lots of things that, judges could do. Jaywalk, right? There's people that get beat up. That was Tupac. Littering, there's $1,000 fines. So if she's littering, jaywalking, if she's driving drunk, if she, murders, rapes, or does the big things, if there's insider trading, there's some white collar crimes. She should go to jail just like the rest of, everybody else. If we had a fair judicial system. And I guess that's essentially what I'm saying is I don't feel like it's fair. I don't feel like it's fair. I don't feel like the judicial system will actually hear you out. If you don't have the money to purchase a lawyer, you can get a public pretender, but then they got to maintain some kind of relationship with the prosecutor, so they can only care about so many of the cases. I don't really feel like we have a judicial system that works for the public. Is it possible? Even good to err is human. So even your best, even Gandhi, Martin Luther King, even the best people out there are going to make mistakes. So to assume that just because you have power that you can't make a mistake, I think it's insane and dangerous. Because I think that we're all pretty much a bunch of animals anyways. And we try to be more civilized. But to assume that, the rich ones aren't? Yeah, right. Yeah. Look at Titanic, right? As soon as shit hits the fan, they're just a bunch of animals like everybody else is. If anything, they could dress nicer and be proper, but they don't have to deal with the day-to-day bullshit. There's something else I was wanting to say too, because I want the judicial system to work for us. So if I get robbed, I want to be able to call the police and for them to believe me and to write down and then go after the criminals. But I guess I don't know. It's something about people, they're so skeptical. It's like, no, I don't know if I believe what you're saying. Because you know me, you don't know me. You're just going to assume I'm just lying and making up stuff. And so I would love it, to have a judicial system that works for me. I would love to be able to trust the government, to trust these people that are put in positions of power, that they will adjudicate the case. They will look at both sides. They will be even-handed, and they'll be fair and balanced. One person accused another person. Okay, what's your evidence, right? If it's a civil matter, then that means you got to, build up your case. And if you don't have a lawyer, that's fine. You could represent yourself. And the judges, it's really upon their discretion. Do they take us serious or don't they? And Deborah Ehler, she don't take us serious. It doesn't matter if you write 10 pages. It doesn't matter if, you said that person, murdered my family. she will, if you don't serve the person correctly, she will throw it out on a technicality. Because it doesn't matter what's right and what's wrong, what's constitutional, and what's not for Deborah Ehler. So that's my spiel. Anyways, see you later.